Good morning. Right, can you get those pages that you had right at the end yesterday? And if you don't, you will be shot. Thank you very much. You got the page? Right. Okay, so I'll go over the answers with you again. So the last one, yeah, okay. So just this stuff about complex prepositions. Okay, this is the last thing we'll do with this rubbish. Okay, so the first one there, it says the accident was caused by carelessness on the part of the driver. Now, what does on the part of mean? Oh, look at this, very, very summary today. Excellent. Right, he looks like a 1980s pop star. Excellent, very good. Right, so on the part of means from someone's side, okay? So in this case, on the part of the driver, so on the side of the driver. Does everyone remember what carelessness means? What's carelessness? Take a guess. Break it up. Care, yeah, okay, so careless is the opposite of careful, and carelessness is the noun, okay? The next one then, the company raised salaries in line with inflation rates. So, which? No, okay, because inflation rates, they don't just happen, okay? They're a statistic. So you wouldn't say, oh, it's a time when that happens. So you wouldn't say before. So in this case here, you would say in line with, consistent with inflation rates. So the salaries, okay, you have it. So if you raise salaries in line with the inflation rate, so maybe the government says, oh, well, the inflation is going like this, so we'll increase salaries like that. So it's in line with it, it's consistent. The next one then, the course teaches spoken English as distinct from written English. So not exactly indifferent, okay, different to this. So different from, not the same as. The next one then.
We have other options.
Oh yeah, what did you put down?
Prior to.
Yes, that would work if the course decided, okay, we're going to teach spoken English first, and then we're going to teach written English, okay? So it'd be an unusual course to do that, but I suppose you could do it. Okay, next one then. We'll start the match at 4 p.m. or later, depending on the weather. I think most people will get that, okay? So it's dependent on the weather. You need to check in at the airport. Yes, exactly. Okay? You need to check in at the airport prior to your flight. Okay, so that's obvious. Okay, before you fly. Next one then, number 6. The project continued irrespective of the lack of funding. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter though there was a lack of funding. It still continued. Next one then, he decided to take the bus as opposed to walking home. So instead of, as opposed to. And be careful, that to is a preposition. So as a consequence, you have to use ing afterwards. So that's why you say walking and not walk. All students can apply irrespective of or regardless of their nationality. It doesn't matter about their nationality. Both are acceptable there.
Irrespective?
No, be careful. It's irrespective of. Okay, you have to put in that of, because this is the complex preposition. The preposition of has to be there. Okay. The next one then. The study focused on environmental issues as distinct from economic concerns. So it didn't worry about economic concerns. It was more concerned about environmental issues. And then the last one, the applause showed appreciation on the part of the audience. And that's basically on the side of the audience, or from the perspective of the audience. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, so to be honest, I'll throw these words in throughout the week. Okay, so you'll see these coming up a few more times. But enough of that rubbish. Can you get a piece of paper and a pen? Okay, so I'm going to read out 4 very, very interesting sentences again. Right. Now, usually I have to ask in my class, does everyone have a piece of paper and a pen?
No.
Do you have a pen? Maybe. Does anyone have a spare pen there? Yeah, excellent. Right, okay, so we'll go over this. And again, I will read this 3 times. I do not want the melodramatic reaction on the first go where you're saying, oh, he's speaking too fast. Please, say that again. Okay? Right, okay, so the first one, the president's speech was in line with expectations. As distinct from last year's surprise announcement. The president's speech was in line with expectations, as distinct from last year's surprise announcement. The president's speech was in line with expectations, as distinct from last year's surprise announcement. Okay, next one. Many workers are demanding higher pay. Irrespective of whether inflation begins to fall. Many workers are demanding higher pay, irrespective of whether inflation begins to fall. Many workers are demanding higher pay, irrespective of whether inflation begins to fall. Next one. The outcome of the election will change. Depending on how many young people turn out to vote. The outcome of the election will change depending on how many young people turn out to vote. The outcome of the election will change depending on how many young people turn out to vote. Next one then, last one. Global markets reacted nervously.
Please.
Prior to the central bank's decision on interest rates. Global markets reacted nervously prior to the central bank's decision on interest rates.
again.
Global markets reacted nervously prior to the central bank's decision on interest rates. Okay, pair, 3. Discuss what your answers were. Pair, yes, you're with the 1980s pop star. Pair view, 3 of you. Off you go, simple. Difficult or
the election will change depend on many people come to vote for
No, I actually speak an average speech. Difficult or easy? Difficult or easy?
Where was the
Okay, right. So there are the answers. There are the answers. Were you far away or not? Close? Not too bad. Okay, that's a stupid mistake.
Yeah. This one, whether I
What did you do there? Oh,
that this thing,
that's up there, the other side.
yeah.
Cool. So you've got the on. it did the same thing with this stuff. Okay, not too bad. Okay, right. So, can you look at the first one here? Where were the biggest problems with that? How many of you had a problem with this? This here. How many of you did not put in the apostrophe S? Okay, so would it make grammatical sense to say the president's speech without the S? Yeah, it doesn't, but it doesn't make any grammar sense to say the president speech. Okay, so you would have to have, and an English speaker will put in that apostrophe S, even though when you say president's speech, you have the two beside each other, and you still, like, they come together, and one sort of disappears even though it's elongated. But the grammar makes it only this possible. Okay? Next one then. How many of you had a problem with that? Did you put in line with? Okay, so that's in the expressions in the text that I gave you earlier. If you look down here, how many of you did not put in of? How many of you did not put in of in that? Okay, this is again in the complex prepositions. How many of you did not put in on?
Morning.
Good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon. How many of you did not put in on? Yeah, again, because of a complex preposition, you would have to have on in that case. And how many of you did not put in to? Or how many of you had problems with that word down, or expression down at the bottom? Prior to. How many of you said prior to? Okay, prior to is actually more common than you would think. Okay, it just means before. And most of you will always use before, and you'll never use anything else. Okay, prior to. Okay, read that for me, please, Manuel. Read the first sentence.
The president's speech was in line with the dictation.
How'd you say that word?
The president's speech was in line with expectations.
Expectations.
Expectations, as distinct from last year's surprise announcement.
Okay, so what did Manuel do wrong with the pronunciation in that? No ideas? From last week? No ideas?
No connection the last.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so there were no connections between the last consonant and vowel at the end. So if you see the last two words, you have surprise announcement. Okay, so if you have problems with this, like a lot of Spanish speakers do, break it up. So do something like that. Say surprise.
Surprise.
Say zan. Announcement. Surprise announcement. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, although you sound like you're in a church. Okay, surprise. Repeat after me. Surprise. Surprise announcement. That's all. Killing me. Okay, how would you say this? Again? As distinct from. Now, what did he do that I would not do?
The last.
So it just sounded like as distinct from instead of distinct. Okay, try that. Again, I can't hear a lot of your t. So again, get the piece of paper, stick it in front of your face, get the piece of paper quickly, and go. Okay, hold it up. Okay, just do that. My God. Okay. Sorry, just 1 second. Just 1 second. This man over here, Gaetano, went like this. I said, everyone pronounce like that. And he went, that's completely the wrong sound. Okay, now you see what's happened over here? He's been practicing his Italian so much last night that he's forgotten all of his English. Okay, excellent. How's the Duolingo course going?
No.
It's not going very well. Yeah, good, good. Okay, so again, as distinct.
As distinct. As distinct.
As distinct from.
As distinct from.
As distinct.
As
You, Edberg, yes, it's going in a sequence.
As distinct from.
Yes.
as distinct from.
As what?
As distinct from.
Now, what Dennis is doing is as distinct. Okay, right, as distinct.
As distinct from.
Now, do you hear distincts? Okay, next.
As distinct from.
Yes.
As distinct from.
Distinct.
Distinct from.
Perfect.
As distinct from.
Yes.
As distinct from.
Distinct.
Distinct.
As distinct from.
As distinct from.
As distinct from.
Perfect.
As distinct from.
Yes. Now, some of the problems over here, so if you played back, you would have definitely heard Gonzalo being a little bit problematic with from. Okay, so the from became from. It's not, it's from. Okay, so now as distinct from.
As distinct from.
Exactly, okay?
As distinct from.
As distinct.
As distinct from.
Exactly, okay? You need to be more aggressive in English.
As distinct from.
You were very aggressive with distinct and then you were very relaxed with from. Okay, so again, more aggression as distinct from.
As distinct from.
Now, do you hear as distinct instead of as distinct?
Distinct from. From.
That's better. As yell.
As distinct from.
Now, again, some of you have this problem. You do not put a H in front of that as. Okay, so it's not has distinct from. As distinct from.
As distinct from.
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 As distinct from. As distinct from.
Yes, but now he put an or in the middle of this as distinct. Okay, but it's better. It's better. I'm not joking. If you don't do that in English, you will not be understood. Okay, you have to pronounce the last consonant in syllables. The most important example of that is when you have a ed at the end of a verb. Okay, so for past forms, which regular verbs. So if you said, for example, watch instead of watched, then you have the wrong tense. Okay, so you have to be a bit careful about that. And you already saw that in the first example where you have the president's speech. You have a possessive S. This is grammar form that you have to have. Okay, the next one then, can you read for me, please? Gaetano, the second sentence. Now remember, where will there be a link? Where's there going to be a link? Which words are going to be connected in the second one?
Many workers
Well, just tell me where the connections are going to be first.
in the second one.
Okay, yeah, there's going to be here, workers are demanding.
Demanding higher pay irrespective of whether or whether.
Weather.
Irrespective of whether
Inflation.
begins to fall.
Okay, so there's one or two things that Gaetano did that a native speaker probably would not do. So again, in this case, you're going to have irrespective of. You're also going to get whether inflation begins to fall. Okay, and also, I did not pronounce that word as to. What did I say? To. Okay, to fall. Say to fall. To fall. Okay, so when you get the to, put it with the next word. Okay, to fall, to eat, etc. Okay, many workers are demanding higher pay irrespective of whether inflation begins to fall. Okay, so repeat after me. Many workers are demanding higher pay. Workers are
Workers are.
Okay, many workers are. Demanding higher pay. Irrespective of. Whether inflation. Begins to fall. Okay, now I want you to create another sentence like you usually do, and you're going to test your partner. What you want to do is include this. Okay, so I want you to include one of the expressions, the complex prepositions you have on the page. Okay. So include one of them. Now you're going to have to put in what those complex prepositions are, so maybe take a picture of the thing or whatever, etc. So as distinct from, irrespective of, etc., etc. And I also want you to ask for, give an opportunity for liaison in connected speech. So liaison is when that consonant, last consonant, is going together with the initial vowel. And as usual, do not commentary, no commentary. Okay, so no commentary. So for the people who don't understand what that I mean, your partner will. Okay, so pair. Okay, I want you to create one sentence in ChatGPT and test your partner on the audio. Okay, simple. You understand what to do? Yes, okay, and Hiki, you know what to do? Okay, we will probably have to explain a bit from this page. Beautiful, what's up? Okay, good. Okay, so get ChatGPT there. Okay, so please give me a dictation sentence. Don't comment on the sentence where it contains the expression irrespective of, and there are opportunities for liaison in connected speech. That is when the final consonant links with the initial vowel in English. What you're going to do is create the audio to him, and he's going to guess now, and then you can say, and again, and you can change that irrespective of to.
Okay, he has to go up there.
Well, he doesn't have to just speak.
Okay.
Right. You understand what you do? Yeah. Yes. Okay, as usual, play it to your partner. If your partner is an idiot, suck it up. Maybe you could give poor Gaetano some assistance. Yes.
No, okay. I think it is okay. The sentence is okay. They use
Okay.
no, isn't the don't using anyone of this.
Just say no, something similar to this. Yes. No. I would like you to give me an individual sentence with no commentary, and I want you to include complex prepositions such as irrespective of or regardless of, and I want you to give me a sentence that contains opportunities for liaison in connected speech. Thank you. No, I do not want you to mention the expression liaison in connected speech. I want you to give me some examples where the final consonant or word links with the initial vowel of the next word. but only give me one sentence. Oh, Jesus. Give me a second. Oh, no. More like that. No, can you give me a sentence? One sentence. Do not give me any commentary or have anything like sure, absolutely, just a sentence. I want you to include a complex preposition, for example, depending on, irrespective of, as distinct from, etc., prior to. And I want you to give me an example of liaison in connected speech. That is when you have a final consonant with an initial vowel in natural speech. Now we'll see what it gives us.
Okay.
Just give me a second, Edward.
Irrespective of age or
That is perfect. Yes.
or
No, that is not. No, I would like you to give me one sentence. Please give me one sentence that contains a complex preposition such as irrespective of, as distinct from, depending on, prior to, regardless of, etc. And I want it to contain examples of liaison in connected speech. That is, whether a final consonant of a word links with the initial vowel of the next word.
I have very idea.
For example,
You can record one time and
yeah, I think yeah,
No,
I
I just want the sentence. I do not want commentary. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can use this one. They right? It's a little bit like 3 lines.
Okay, that's quite a lot of numbers. So if you want, you can say
You want to write ready?
No, I would like you to give me one sentence with no commentary that contains a complex preposition. So, no, I would like you to give me one sentence that contains a complex preposition such as distinct from, irrespective of, depending on, or prior to, etc. And it should not contain any commentary. And I would like you to include opportunities for liaison in connected speech, which means that the final consonant of a syllable links with the initial vowel of the next syllable. This is terrible. I don't like this all. Do you have that in Spanish or in English?
I wrote everything just get the song and the sound.
If you ask, no, I don't want you to talk about no commentary, you idiot. I would like you not to comment on the sentence. That is, don't say, sure, here's a new one, or absolutely. Just give me the sentence. Please. Yes, but now there are no complex prepositions.
How to say it?
You need to be more forceful there, Grandpa. Okay, do another one if you finish it. Just say it again.
How to say it?
So give me a complex preposition in the sentence such as irrespective of, as distinct. But it's probably better, Gaetano, to say it, so you'll be quicker. Okay. Yes. My God. Your course will be finished by the time you get
Projecting a cortex.
You're killing me. Please give me sentences that contain complex prepositions such as distinct from, or irrespective of, or depending on, or prior to. Thank you. Give me a shorter sentence, please.
Yeah. Yeah. You use professors when in accordance with the professor guideline, so probably the professor. Yeah, I imagine that the professor give the rules, so they follow in the rules.
Yeah.
If you finish, do again. Look on the back.
Regardless.
Be careful. Look at the full expression.
Regardless of.
Now, play it again.
The project was delayed because of the unexpected storm.
You don't need to write, just speak. Okay?
Okay. Let's play. I will do.
You don't need to write, you just speak if you want. Yes.
So we need to.
No. You've done this 50 times. Play the phrase and you just keep but you don't need to write it. If you want, you can write it.
Depending on the
Ready?
I think they both very quickly. I don't
available. Available. Okay. Whatever is depending on
interest and availability. John speak Italian.
I don't know how to describe schedule.
It's supposed to say the general. It's a little easier when you can read.
Although maybe we'll use everything. Yeah, and the first time I heard other things, but the second time I get it.
As distinct from his brother, John can speak Italian fluently. The court's findings were interesting. As distinct in one's conclusions. As distinct from his brother, John can speak Italian fluently. The court's findings were interesting. As distinct from one's conclusions. The report's findings were interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
A moment.
Report's findings were interesting. As distinct from one's conclusions. Report's findings were interesting. As distinct from one's conclusions.
Word by word.
I don't think it's interesting. Sports
Regardless of
Yes.
regardless of advice.
No, but it's with S, like the skip, but in
That's a little less connected than that. That seems more like regardless of
still has four.
But yeah, that would be some advice. There are two liaisons there. There's only one in yours because you have of risks. There's no vowel in risks.
No, it's like
Okay, stop.
Against.
Okay, stop. Okay, so to be honest, again, I do want you to do that more often. Now, obviously, you should do it with longer text eventually, okay, slightly longer. But I want you now to try say it. Try pronounce the sentence or one of the sentences that you were given. And if there is liaison, for example, with this, try connect. Regardless of. Okay, regardless of. Okay, try repeat the sentence, but speak to your partner. I will go around and listen to how terrible you are. Okay, right, off you go. Begin. Read one of your sentences.
end of.
I don't know. Depends because we need to know the songs of introducing the class. So because if it ends with T, we need to some T with the and this thing.
The race is the seconds. Turning off. Just pause this so you don't confuse with one of you. Just do this. Turn off.
Introduce
Turn off. Every English speaker. Yes, regardless of this injuries. Injuries.
Regardless of his injuries.
Yeah, but you're not doing this. You're going
But in this case, because I should
it's doing this.
F with the I fit.
Yes, because the H is
Yeah, so regardless of his injuries.
of his injuries.
Regardless of
His injuries. Keep going, keep going. Yeah.
Andrew, we have here when you play again and you get the audio, it's like the doesn't connect.
Say introduce. Introduce.
So fit
And
Introduce.
and I have a question. Is the verb with is and the verb of he in the
What are you reading? Okay, so put it down so liaisons. Student says it. Student says it. The student says it. Argued as. Okay, so there are a few professor's expectations, it's almost like expectations. Professor's expectations, and over here it was where are you guys?
we ignore yes, sometimes you ignore it and connect to the other, like in respect of irrespective of age, yeah, I think it's not connected. Could be like
Okay, right. Right, okay, so can you look at the board just for a second? Okay, so stop that rubbish for a moment. Okay, just look at the top sentence first, okay? So you're going to get a liaison here, okay? Now, you're probably also, when an English speaker is speaking quickly, going to get a liaison here, because this H will drop. It won't be pronounced. So, which words are not important in this sentence? Well, this is one of them. So very often that will change pronunciation. And then you're going to have one here as well. Okay? So how is this pronounced? Is. So that will be really like that. Okay? This is going to happen. So you're going to get something like this. Saw, so say something like that. Injuries. He kept running regardless of his injuries. He kept running regardless of his injuries. Repeat.
He kept running regardless of his injuries.
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 Yeah, that's better. Okay. You,
He
Edward?
kept running regardless of his injuries.
Regardless of his injuries. Maybe this would be easier for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so do it again.
He kept running regardless of his injuries.
Visin injuries. Okay, he kept running regardless of his injuries. Okay, now the next one. Where would you expect a liaison here? Okay. Okay. This will not happen. Okay, so this is a consonant sound. This is a vowel sound. So this will be pronounced like this. Was introduced. And this is problematic for a lot of you. Almost all of you don't pronounce the consonant sound at the end of past forms. Just do that. Okay, now to be honest, what very often happens here is something like this. To wit. The news, that's not right. The news was introduced in response to it. Okay, so repeat, JP.
The news was introduced in response to it.
Yeah, and that's much better than what you normally do. Because what you normally do is something like that. The news was introduced in response to it. So there's no past form here. You just give me a present form. But if you move that D, if you can, in front of a vowel sound, if it exists here, doesn't always exist, then it's clearer. Okay? Now you asked about when you pronounce the, t, and id, or id, in regular verbs. Does anyone know in the past when you do that? So I could come in here and say, okay, now with sounds like this, or sounds like this at the end, you will produce a T sound. But the rule is much more simple than that if you think about it. And this is the only thing you need to remember. If the verb ends in a D, so for example, this, then you will pronounce like that. So pronounce that for me. Loaded. Okay, so that's the reason that's pronounced id is because of that D. If you said, for example, give me a verb that ends in T. Anyone know a verb that ends in T? Okay, right, yeah. Pronounce that for me. Okay. This is it. You're an expert. Okay. Flirted. And the reason you pronounce that as an id is because of that T there. Now, the rule about this is, if the sound before the T is voiceless, has no voicing, then you pronounce like a T. So if you say S, say that to me. Yeah, there's no voicing, okay? So if you produce a ED after that, then it will be pronounced like a T. So say that for me. Missed. Say that for me. Watched. Now, all the other sounds that have voicing and the vowels, well, they'll be pronounced with the D. So, for example, if I said, instead of that, that. Say that for me. Whizzed. 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 You wouldn't say whizzed. 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 I can't even say it very well. Whizzed. Nobody says that. They say whizzed. Whizzed. Or if it's a vowel sound like that, how do you say that? Played. You do not want to say plate, because then you get the knives and forks and things like that. Okay? So the reason that it's being pronounced is because of the sound here. Okay?
But when I made a liaison, it's still...
The liaison only works if you have a vowel sound after. If it doesn't, so if I said something like this, well, you're not going to be able to connect those. You're just going to have to pronounce this clearly. Introduced Manuel. Introduced Manuel. Okay? Introduced Manuel.
But if instead introduced was watched, I say watched.
Oh, if it was hit. Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay, this is the last thing I'll do with this. How do you pronounce that? Watched. How do you pronounce that? Him. Now, if you say it just the way it's written, like in the dictionary or whatever, then there would be no liaison because that's a consonant and that's a consonant, and then you just get watched him. Watched him. But when an English native speaker is speaking quickly, that will almost always disappear. So the same thing will happen with his and her, him and her, etc. So you'll say, watched them, watched them, watched them. If I said, I watched her, what did I say there? I watched her. Well, I watched her, but I didn't say the H. If I said, for example, I watched his program, what did I say? I watched his program. What did I say? Yeah, I said in the past, but what were the last two words? His program. Now I didn't say his, I said is. Watched his program. Okay, so again, you have to be you have to become familiar with this when you're listening to native speakers. This is connected speech. There are a few things that connected speech There are a few things that will happen in connected speech. One is this, liaison, okay? Another thing is sounds disappearing. Now, if you listen to what I said when I was dictating the sentences, I did not say interest rates. How did I pronounce that word? Interest. That disappeared. So there's a lesion, so disappearance of sounds as well. And you saw another one up here. Okay, that's a lesion, that disappeared. Okay? Then there's also, and there are problems over here, of weak forms. So when a word is just a grammar word, it doesn't really have much content in it. Like this word, for example, that's sort of like a grammar word. Almost all, and this one as well. Him or her, etc. Or his. Those kind of words are not really pronounced the same way they're written. So you don't usually say to. You don't say his. You say t and is. How would you say that word? Yeah, nobody says that. Nobody says for. They say fur. Fur. Okay? How would you say that word? But sometimes it'll be pronounced n. Say this color and that color. Connect them. Yeah, do you hear black and white? Nobody says that. They say black and white. Black and white. And that's a liaison. Black and white. Okay, black and white. So you have a weak form and a liaison in that. And then there are other things. Some sounds don't like to be beside each other. Okay, so for example, if I said this. Put it there. Say that for me. Then bite. Now that sound does not like to be beside that sound. Why not? Say that sound alone. No. What's happening in your mouth? The tongue is going where? Yeah, okay, an English speaker, it does not touch the teeth. In English, it does not touch the teeth. Now, say bu 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 bu. Now, you understand that those two sounds are not very similarly produced. Okay, they're quite different. Now say m m m m m. And say bu 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 again. Okay, so that's why when you really say this quickly, very often you're going to get something like that. The big. An English speaker will do that because the two sounds are close in production. Okay, they're closely produced. Or sorry, they're produced very similarly. And as a consequence, this one will change pronunciation. Okay? There's another place where you see that. In fact, I've already shown you this. Okay, everyone understand that? And this? Say that? Okay, what's the pronunciation of this part? What's the pronunciation of that? Why? That's cats. That's dogs. Now that's a z and that's a s. Why? Yeah, why?
Because T
Yeah, T is not vibrated. So it's easier to say this one without vibration. This one is vibrated. Now it's difficult to identify this, but that's why that is vibrated, because it's easier to say. It's actually hard for you and me to do the opposite. So if I was to go cats, that's strange for me to do. Dogs. Again, it sounds very weird. In fact, it might start to sound like this word, which does exist in English. Ducks. Okay? Ducks. Dogs. Ducks. If I change that to a k, then it would be very unnatural for me to go and say that as a z. It would be ducks. Z. Okay? Really hard. Okay? And that's what's happening here. The reason that you pronounce the ed like this is because it's easier to pronounce with the previous sound. So that also happens. So if you want to get good at listening to native speakers, you have to be familiar with all of those things. And it's not that difficult if you, no it isn't, it's just difficult if you try to do them all in one go. I didn't try to make you do all of those in one go. I said, just concentrate on that liaison rubbish. Another time you can say concentrate on weak forms, another time you can concentrate on, this thing is called assimilation or whatever. Don't try to do it all in one go, but it's only about 5 phenomena. It's not 100 different things are happening. Only about 5 things happen in connected speech that you need to worry about. Okay, that's it. And then after that there are different accents. But some of you, I keep saying, oh my God, this is impossible. Like, Yvonne said it was impossible to understand that Dublin weather forecaster last week, and at the end of the week was, are we playing this again? Okay, because it's the same stuff again and again. Anyone remember what expression that Dublin weather forecaster is probably going to say? Yeah, exactly. Look, even the way you say it. For God's sake, it's just repetitive. This is repetitive. So those words are you're going to hear all the time. His, him, her, of, for, blah, blah, blah. They're the most common words in English. 5% of the words that you're going to hear are going to be those kind of words. Maybe 10%. So you're going to get lots of practice with this. You're going to hear English speakers doing it all the time. If you listen to native English speakers. If you don't get this practice. This is why I'm asking you to use ChatGPT for this. Because you very often don't have native speaker friends. If you do, you don't have to do this. You can just listen to the native speaker repeating themselves, doing it again and again and again. But if you don't do that, do this as the next best thing. Okay? Right, anyway, enough of that rubbish. Next thing that, oh, for God's sake, right. Can you, oh, well, actually, you will go into listen. Okay, take out the piece of paper and a pen. You're going to listen to the news, okay? That's our favourite. Aziel, can you close that there just for a second? Okay, so again, write down what you think you heard. Okay, so obviously this is a native speaker speaking English. Okay? Who cares? It's not Mozart at the beginning.
Good evening. The Ukrainian President and other European and NATO leaders are meeting President Donald Trump this evening for talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. The European leaders are in Washington to show solidarity with Kyiv and to press for strong security guarantees in any post-war settlement. ICWA has published a report exposing numerous delays in services for cases of suspected physical and sexual abuse in the Dublin area. The inspection was part of a monitoring programme to examine Tusla's child protection, welfare and foster care services. Amnesty International has accused Israel of enacting a deliberate policy of starvation in Gaza as aid agencies warn of famine there. Israel has repeatedly rejected claims of deliberate starvation. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands continue to protest in Tel Aviv, calling for a ceasefire deal and the release of hostages held by Hamas. This afternoon, sources said Hamas had agreed to a new proposal for a ceasefire. Fine Gael's Executive Council is due to meet this evening to discuss its next steps for the presidential election after the withdrawal of Mairead McGuinness last week. This morning, former Chief Medical Officer Tony Holohan ruled himself out as a candidate, saying he wanted to protect his family from personal abuse. Provisional figures from the Gardaí indicate that the number of reported crimes has fallen by 7% since 2019. The figures for the first 6 months of this year suggest an increase in the number of reported sex and fraud offences and a decrease in aggravated burglaries and violent disorder. That's all for the moment. Good evening.
Okay, compare with your partner quickly. Okay, compare with your partner is there. Okay, work together. Okay, the first story, what was that about?
The Ukrainian president, the EU leaders, and Donald Trump.
Yes, did they mention any other organization? So EU, United States, Ukraine, any other organization? European Union, anything else?
Mission International.
No, that's another story.
They said that the place the reunion.
Okay, Washington DC. Okay, there was another organization. Next one then. What was the next story about?
Sexual abuse.
Physical and sexual abuse where? In the Dublin area. In what? In what context?
But they talk about monitor program and should try child protection.
Child protection, yeah, there's something about that. Okay, we'll come back to that. Next story.
Starvation.
Starvation in Gaza. Anything else? Any organization? Any organization?
International.
Amnesty International was mentioned. Anything else?
In Tel Aviv.
Yeah, protests in Tel Aviv about what? Against the war. There was something else. Okay, we'll come back to that. Next one. Now, I would say the next one is probably one of the hardest ones because of names. You might not understand some of the names.
Is discussed about
Something about the election. What?
discussed about the next steps of presidential
Who?
election here
Who?
in Ireland.
Who?
Executive Council disclose.
The Executive Council of whom? Yeah, I don't think you're going to get this because it's an Irish name. Okay, I'll explain in a minute.
They said something about protection of a family of the candidate.
Yes, there is something about the protection of a certain family. Okay, yeah. And then the last one, what was that about? Are the crimes, what else? 7%. Did you hear any other number? What year?
2019.
2019, something else?
Increase.
Increase what?
Right.
Okay, increased crimes, was it?
Then
Okay.
recently.
Again? 50%. Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so listen again. Can you get any more information this time?
Good evening. The Ukrainian president and other European and NATO leaders are meeting President Donald Trump this evening for talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. The European leaders are in Washington to show solidarity with Kyiv and to press for strong security guarantees in any post-war settlement. HICWA has published a report exposing numerous delays in services for cases of suspected physical and sexual abuse in the Dublin area. The inspection was part of a monitoring programme to examine Tusla's child protection, welfare and foster care services. Amnesty International has accused Israel of enacting a deliberate policy of starvation in Gaza as aid agencies warn of famine there. Israel has repeatedly rejected claims of deliberate starvation. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands continue to protest in Tel Aviv, calling for a ceasefire deal and the release of hostages held by Hamas. This afternoon, sources said Hamas had agreed to a new proposal for a ceasefire. Fine Gael's Executive Council is due to meet this evening to discuss its next steps for the presidential election after the withdrawal of Mairead McGuinness last week. This morning, former Chief Medical Officer Tony Houlihan ruled himself out as a candidate, saying he wanted to protect his family from personal abuse. Provisional figures from the Gardaí indicate that the number of reported crimes has fallen by 7% since 2019. Figures for the first 6 months of this year suggest an increase in the number of reported sex and fraud offences and a decrease in aggravated burglaries and violent disorder. That's all for the moment. Good evening.
Okay, with your partner just discussed, did you get any more information for 20 seconds? Quickly.
First one.
Anything more?
Shows solidarity, commander in chief, yeah, something about second one, the name for I think one other people protesting. Israel
Okay, right. Did you get any more information?
A little.
Yes. Okay. What more information did you get?
Show in the first one, they show solidarity.
Show solidarity.
They want guarantee security.
Okay.
Talks about the end of the war in Ukraine.
Yes. Okay. Anything else about the next story?
The next story has forest or like something like this is a name, I think, that place.
You're close. You're close. It's a verb. Okay. It's a verb. Actually, in this case, it might be a noun. I can't remember. So it's the word foster. It's not forest. It's foster. I'll tell you what it means now in a minute. Next story.
Israel regrets something about
Hamas.
Yes. Okay. So they mentioned Hamas.
That's a new proposal.
Yeah, and
Okay.
proposed to
Yes.
Hamas hostage.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to hear the word hostage as well.
Yeah.
Okay. The next story. Did you get the name?
Rudden.
Okay. Okay. The next story.
It's something about Guinness.
Something about Guinness, but it's not Guinness. It's the same thing as you had a problem with the last time. Yep.
Tell me how.
Yes, you're very close to the name of one of the people. Okay.
You say?
Houlihan. Houlihan is the name. You'll see in a minute. And then the last one. Any more about that story?
6 small. 4.
Okay, we'll go over this. Okay, we'll play again. Okay. So look in that direction. Okay, so this is the organization. How do you pronounce it? No, NATO. So this is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's the United States and some European Union countries with militaries and the United Kingdom.
Evening, the Ukrainian president and other European and NATO leaders are meeting President Donald Trump this evening for talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. The European leaders are in Washington to show solidarity with Kyiv.
Okay, with Kyiv. Okay, so it's pronounced Kyiv. Sometimes you will hear Kiev. Okay, now Kiev sounds more Russian, so that's why nowadays you hear Kyiv. Okay, so Kyiv. Yes?
What is the meaning of Kyiv?
It's the capital city of Ukraine. Okay?
And to press for strong
press for strong security guarantees. What are you doing if you're pressing for something? You're pushing really hard for something. Okay?
security guarantees in any post-war settlement.
What's a post-war settlement? What's a settlement mean?
Arrangement after the war.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how everything works at the end, the plan. Now, this I know you don't know. The pronunciation of this is HICWA. So that's an acronym that we use in Ireland. It's the Health Information and Quality Authority or something like that. Okay, so it's an organisation that looks into the standards in the health service in Ireland. Okay.
HICWA has published a report exposing numerous delays in services for cases of suspected physical and sexual abuse in the Dublin area. The inspection was part of a monitoring programme to...
Okay, so you won't understand you won't get the pronunciation of that word either. That's TUSLA. And TUSLA is an organisation that looks after child and family safety. Okay?
to examine TUSLA's child protection, welfare and foster care services.
So foster care services. What's foster care? Who are foster parents?
A person who is in charge of the child without parents.
Yeah, okay. So foster parents are the people who take over the job of being the parents when they have no parents, okay? Or when the parents have been abusive and they've taken the kids away. So that's foster care services.
Amnesty International has accused Israel of...
What tense is that, Dennis? Dennis?
Present perfect.
Dennis. Okay, what are we connecting when we use the present perfect? The past and the present, okay?
Enacting a deliberate policy of starvation in Gaza as aid agencies warn of famine there.
What's famine? Yeah, when there's no food, okay? So it's hunger, okay? What is the French word for hunger? Yeah, okay? What is the Portuguese word for hunger? What is the Italian word for hunger? This is the Italian word for hunger. Oh, yes, very good. Now he remembers. Oh, I remember that in Duolingo. Okay, excellent. And the Spanish? Like that, okay? So very, very often the Spanish H is going to be translated into an F in the other Romance languages. And this word is connected to that word there. So famine means without food. There's another word in English. Does anyone know what that means? Famished. Anyone know what that means? Take a guess. Yeah, when you're very hungry, So connected to that, okay?
Israel has repeatedly rejected claims of deliberate starvation. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands continue to protest in Tel Aviv, calling for a ceasefire deal and the release of hostages.
So someone already mentioned the word hostages. What are hostages?
It's when you get somebody.
Yeah, so when you got the lovely demonstration there. Okay, yes. Okay, so when you kidnap a person, basically. And Hamas is an organization.
Held by Hamas. This afternoon, sources said Hamas had agreed to a new proposal for a ceasefire.
Now, this you will not know. Okay, now I told you, if you want to understand the news in any place in the world, probably you're going to hear the names of political parties. So could you name, now this is going to be difficult possibly for this gentleman over here. Gaetano, can you name any political parties in Italy?
Any political party?
Yeah, a political party in Italy.
Just one?
If you can give us two, that is fine also. Forza Italia. Give me another one.
PD?
Okay, so if you heard PD in the context of Italian politics, you go, what? PD? What the hell is that? France, can you give me some political parties in France? The Greens, again, louder so everyone can hear. Another one. So for those of you who don't know, France has only one political party, and it's the Green Party. The Green Party dominates French politics. That's not true. Okay, I just lied. Okay, so there are many parties in France. What are the political parties in Brazil?
PT, PSOL, MBL, PSDB.
See, and you're just going to hear blah, 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 blah. What the hell are those? Okay, it's because you don't have the cultural knowledge of or the political knowledge to understand those names. Well, the same in Ireland. If you don't know the politics of Ireland and you hear Fine Gael, you go, what? Fine Gael, what the hell is that? You will try to be you'll try to be listening for English words, and then you're going to hear this and you go, what? And then your brain might get disorientated and then not understand the rest of the sentence because you don't understand the first part. But if you learn a few names, just like I asked you to learn the geography when you were learning the weather, you'd hear how often Munster, Ulster, Connacht, Leinster came up. If you didn't know those, you would be lost every single time that came up in the weather. Well, the same thing is going to happen with political names in the news, okay? So the name is Fine Gael, and they're one of the big parties in Ireland in the government.
Fine Gael's Executive Council is due to meet this evening to discuss its next steps for the presidential election after the withdrawal of...
What's that word mean? if you with
By the way, you are at 8 a.m.
yeah, okay. So no, Gonzalo is correct about the ATM. So when you go down to the ATM, the cash machine, you withdraw money. What are you doing? You're pulling it out. You're pulling it out. Okay, you don't say retire in English. Retire means you finish your job, your work. Okay, at the end of your life. So you withdraw. If you drag a table, you're pulling it like that. So very often DR means something like pull. In this case, the person has stopped campaigning. So she doesn't want to put her name forward anymore. She said, no, I don't want to be the president. Okay, so she's withdrawn. And her name is what? McGuinness. That's where you hear Guinness. Okay, so it's McGuinness. And her name is Mairead.
Of Mairead McGuinness last week. This morning, former Chief Medical Officer Tony Houlihan.
Okay, so the name of this person is Tony Houlihan, and he was more famous in Ireland a few years ago because he was like the main person in charge of COVID management in Ireland. So he was a controversial figure because of COVID. Okay.
Ruled himself out as a candidate.
What does that mean? Rule yourself out. Okay, you see here, rule himself out. What do you think that means?
He used to go.
Yeah, he refused to enter the race. He said, no, not me. Okay, not me. Oops.
Himself out as a candidate, saying he wanted to protect his family from personal abuse.
So lots of people complain about his COVID rules, etc. So it's controversial like most countries.
Provisional figures from the Gardaí indicate that the number of reported crimes has fallen by 7% since 2019. The figures for the first 6 months of this year suggest an increase in the number of reported.
So even though there was a fall in the total crime in the last year, there was an increase in the number of what? Sex and what offences? Fraud. What's fraud? Yeah, you're scamming. Okay, you're saying, okay, I'm somebody I'm not. Okay.
Sex and fraud offences, and it.
Now, what's a decrease in aggravated burglaries? What are aggravated burglaries? So first of all, what are burglaries? Burglary is when you break into somebody's house and try to steal something. And aggravated is usually when you're breaking into the house and somebody wakes up and then you kill that person or whatever, or use a weapon. That's aggravated. So it's stronger than it should have been. Okay?
Decrease in aggravated burglaries and violent disorder.
And then finally, how do you say good evening in Irish Sign Language? Yes, thank you very much.
That's all for the moment. Good evening.
Okay. Oh, he's just going with no work. Okay, right. Take a break, you cretinous individuals.